Hello everyone, welcome back to the next topic on pandas with Excel. So we'll try to see what is the difference between the working with pandas using Python and as well as how we can perform the data manipulation using Excel. So we'll try to understand how to extract the data from different sources. There may be chances that the data will be sitting in the Excel file, or there will be chances that the data will be sitting in JSON, XML, zip file and various different file sources, right? So we'll try to load the data from different sources. We'll try to do some data cleaning, data manipulation operation. So without any further ado, we'll start today's agenda, that is Python, pandas with Python. So what all you will be learning today in this session? So the first thing you will be learning is introduction of pandas. What is pandas? What do you mean by panel data? And what is series? What is data frame? And how do you create your own series? What is one-dimensional series and the multi-dimensional series? Why it is pandas data frame? And as well as you will be also understanding about accessing the series elements and performing some statistical operations on top of that series data. And also you will be working on filtering the series and performing some arithmetic operation, series ranking, that is sorting and filtering the record, checking for null values and treating the null values, concatenation and etc. So without further ado, let's start with introduction to pandas. Pandas is basically a panel data where it stores the information in tabular format, where with rows and columns, where it is majorly used to perform data manipulations operations. So let me open my script file. So let me create a new script file. So let me name it as pandas with Excel and Python, right? So basically first let me start loading the necessary libraries. Loading or importing the necessary libraries, that is up to you. Importing the necessary libraries. So perfect. So what are the libraries that we want to load? Let me load import numpy, import numpy, import numpy. I'll give the alias as np, and let me also import pandas as pd. NumPy stands for NP stands for NumPy, and why NumPy I have imported in the sense to perform the numerical operation or scientific computing. We loaded NumPy, and pandas is nothing but panel data, where it is used to perform the data manipulation operations. So I'll give the alias for pandas as pd. So let me also import warnings. So let me write as from warnings import filter warnings ignore. So I am importing the filter warnings. So whenever there is warnings, that is what that presents. So this will ignore those warnings. Warnings are not an error. It's just an warnings based on the packaging issue, etc. So I have imported the necessary libraries. So now let me explain you how will you load the series of files, right? Consider I want to create my own pandas series. So to create a series, let me write as less is equals to, I'll provide the list of elements like 1 comma 2 comma some random list of elements are provided here. That's great. So I can see the data type is, type of information is, it is in the list format. So now I will convert this list to series format. So what is series is nothing but if we have any information with one dimension, we call it as series. If it is multi-dimensional data, we call it as data frame. There is a difference between the series and data frame. So now I will convert this list of elements to series. To convert it, just you can write it as A is equals to PD, that is pandas PD dot. Always you want to make sure that the capital S needs to be written, series of LIS. So A. So you can see yes, the data is in the series format. To confirm whether it is in series format or not, what I can do, you can just write as type of A. So you can see here it is pandas core series. So it is in the series format. That's great. So what are the various operations that you can perform if the data is in series format, right? So let me explain you those steps. So where the different functionalities by using series are, the first thing that you can check the length, right? So you can write as a len of A. So you can see here the total length of elements is like 9. We can also perform the shape. So shapes will provide you the number of rows and as well as number of columns. So A dot shape. So it is telling 9 rows with 1 column. So if you want to see number of dimensions, how many dimensions that the data is present. So you can just write as A dot and dim. So it is telling it is a 1 dimension data. So let me write as number of dimensions. So it is an 1 dimension data. If you also want to see the data type, you can just provide the data types. Data types. So A dot D types. So you can see here the data types by default it is defined as integer 64. That's great. So already we also discussed about the type functionalities. So if you want to see which type the entire information is present, it is in the series format. So let me write as type of A. So it is in the pandas core series. That's good. So if I want to see like if there is any null values that are present or not, like if I want to see the information of my series, I can just specify A dot info, alright. So that provides me the information. What all information is present here in the sense? So we have totally 9 entries, out of which from 0 to 8, where it is also printing me number of non-null values and total count and data types. So we have 9 not null values. That's great. We don't have any null values here. And as well as data type is int 64. And total bytes is consumed is 204 bytes. So these are the basic operations that you can perform by using the series. Now let me try to create a data frame. So data frame, as I mentioned, data frame is nothing but it's used to create a multi-dimension array, right? Rather than single dimension, it's used for multi-dimension. So creating a data frame. So to create a data frame, we can create it in various different ways. First, let me create a data frame by using the list format, right? So now, well, create a data frame using list. Okay. So let me provide some list of elements and then let me create a data frame out of it. So let me specify PD dot. Always D and F should be capital while creating a data frame. Data frame PD dot data frame. From pandas we are creating a data frame. Here I am specifying list of elements. Like the name of the person, like Rowan, and then his gender is male and age is 26, and other set of information, right? So like Kumar, and the gender is again the male, and then the age is 24, and I'll also add another information like Navya, and gender is female, and the age is 27 or 29. So I've inserted 3 values. If I execute, you're getting an error by stating that shape of passed is 3 comma 1 as the input. So that's fine. So the problem is where we have not created another list, it should be a data frame, right? So add another list of elements. So you can see here, we have created this information. So now the header is like completely empty. It is printed as 0, 1, 2. I also want to print the column details. So to print the column details, you can just write as comma, columns is equals to, and you can specify the columns details. So the columns for the first column is name of the person, name, comma. Second column indicates the gender, and third column indicates the age of the person, right? Can you see here? Successfully you are able to create a data frame. How simple you can create a data frame. So if you want, you can just create a data frame like df, and you can also see the df information. So the df information is presented here. So this is what data frame is. Data frame is nothing but creating a multiple values. Instead of creating one dimension is nothing but your series. If you are creating multiple dimension, it is a data frame. If you want to see how many dimensions there is present, so each column or each variable we call it as one dimension. We have totally 3 dimension. If you want to cross verify, you can just write as df dot ndim. So that prints number of dimensions or 2 dimensions here. And if you want to see what is the shape of it, you can just write as df dot shape. So that prints 3 rows and 3 columns, right? 3 comma 3. That's great. So can we create a new data frame which by using the dictionary? Yes. So now, well, create a data frame using dictionary, right? So now we'll try to create a data frame by using the dictionary. So compared to list, dictionary, while using dictionary, it is very simple to create a data frame. So the simple way is that where you are providing df1 is equals to, in the curly braces where it takes the keys and value pair, right, in the dictionary, you are specifying like names, colon, you are specifying Navya, comma, Kavya, comma, Kanaka, comma, Jivan. So these are the names that you have provided. Along with that, if you also want to provide the other details like the name along with the name, gender, we can specify it gender, colon. So you can specify the gender for each and every individuals, like their gender is female, comma, female, female, and as well as male. So can you see here? It is successfully we have created 2 columns with names and as well as with gender. So if you specify df1, it has created a dictionary. So now I want to convert this dictionary into data frame. So you can just specify that pd dot data frame and open and close bracket. So now it is in the data frame. So simple, you can create a data frame. Now if you want to add any other column, for example, now I want to add the age column for the particular field, I can just write as df1 of square bracket, let me provide as age. So this is the new column that I am creating here, that is equals to, I can provide the list of elements of age, that is 29, comma, 35, comma, 45, comma, 27. So if you execute it, can you see here? The new column is successfully added as age. So this way you can create a data frame and as well as you can create a series in data frame in Pandas, right? So now we'll see what are the functionalities that we can perform by using the Pandas. So before performing the functionalities, Let me start loading the data from different various source. Then once the data is like huge, I will explain you what are the various functions that you can perform by using the pandas. So pandas allows you to extract the data from different sources. So basically, I've created a folder here. So this folder consists of different files. You can see here, this information almost consists of different folders. Let me just try to add one of the information from this particular folder. So we have Bigmart CSV file and HTML file, JSON file, text file, Excel file, and as well as zip file. We'll try to download the data from different source systems, right? So extracting the data from different files, different file type. So we'll start importing the data. The first file format is in CSV file. So we'll import the data from CSV file. It's very simple to load the data from CSV file. Loading the CSV file. So I can just specify df is equals to p dot read underscore CSV. So CSV is nothing but comma separated values. So here you want to specify the particular file name. So the file name is nothing but bigmart.csv. Let me copy this and let me paste it here. So if you specify df, so it provides you data frame details. So I can see over here, I just printed the values. I just printed the name of the particular file. It is successfully loaded. But what if the path is stored in the different location? Consider here, if I just write as pwd, that is nothing but print the working directory or present working directory. Both my raw file and as well as my Jupyter notebook is sitting in the same particular location. So I can just provide the name of the particular file. For an example, if the file is not present in the same working directory, what happens? So let me minimize this. Consider we have sample superstore file in the desktop, that is Excel file. So if I want to load this particular file, let me copy the name of this particular file. If I execute df is equals to or pd dot read underscore Excel, and if I provide that same file name, it will not load. It will throw an error. Why is this error? Because this particular file is not in the same repository. So only it is unable to capture the details. To overcome this, what we can do? To overcome this, you want to go and copy the path of the particular file. To copy the path of the file, you can use shift and right click. That will help you to copy the path of the file. Just copy it and then paste the path here. Rather than pasting the file name, you want to paste the path, and then you want to change wherever there is a backward slash, you want to make it as forward slash. Wherever there is backward slash, you want to replace it with forward slash. That's it. So if you execute, this works successfully. So consider there is like it's sitting in some different folder and folder inside another folder, folder inside another folder. So the entire information is huge. So at what particular time will you load it, right? It is very difficult to you to what change each and every parameter from backward slash to forward slash, right? So rather than loading in this way, you can go in other different method. So that is nothing but p.read underscore Excel. So you are pasting the Excel file, you are simply writing it as R. So this R will help you to reverse, or this R will help you to what? Just skip those errors that occurs, right? So that reverse the forward slash to backward slash. So this how we can load the data if it is not sitting in the same repository, right? If it is not sitting in the same path or working directory. So now we have learned how to load the data from CSV file, and as well as we learned how to load the data if the data set is sitting in the same working directory, or if it is working in different working directory, how to load the data files. So along with that, we'll try to load the data from next different file format, that is HTML. So let me copy this data of HTML. So let me copy this name of the file. So loading the data, loading the HTML file, right? So I can just provide df2 is equals to, I can just write as p dot read underscore HTML, right? And then I want to specify the file name. So your df2 looks like this. So can you see here, it is not converted in the data frame. It is in the list format. Can you see here, there is a square bracket. The data is loaded in the list format, but it is not in the data frame format. How do you check it? You can just write as type of df2. So can you see here, the type is list. All the information is present in the 0th index position, where list start from the 0th index position, right? So you can just write as df2 of 0. So you can see here, now the data is converted into list to data frame format, right? That's great. Do I really require this unnamed column? No, unnamed column was not present in the original data file. Can you see here, this is your original data file where unnamed 0 was not present, but once the data is in the HTML format, it has created new unknown column called unnamed 0. So I want to remove that column. It is not useful. So I can just write as df3 is equals to df2 of this information. So I'm dropping the unnamed 0 column from the df3. To drop a column, you can just specify dot drop. Drop what? I want to drop this unnamed 0. Okay, comma. I also want to specify the axis. So axis is equals to 1. So if you execute this, that will drop the first column. Along with that, you can see here, it is not affected the original file. If you just search for df3, still the unnamed 0 is present in the data, right? So if you want to affect your original file or original data frame, you can also specify in place equals to true. In place equals to true. If you execute this, can you see here? Now the original file is also got affected. Awesome, right? So now you understood how to load the data from different 3 sources. One is by using the CSV file, and the other one is by using the HTML, and then also Excel file. So now we'll try to load the data from JSON file format. So let me select this. Let me unselect this information. So rename, and then let me copy this name of the particular file. So we'll load the data from JSON format. So let me write as pd dot read underscore JSON. So I have executed. So I can see here the data is successfully loaded. So let me write as df4 so add is nothing but it prints the top 5 records by default. If you don't specify any elements, it prints top 5 records. If you want to print the bottom 5 records, you can just write it as df4 dot tail. Tail will print you the bottom 5 records. This is your bottom 5. If I want to see both top and bottom file, you can just write as df. So df will print both top and bottom files. So if you want to just print the previous call, you can just write as display of this information. So that also prints you the head and as well as tail. Head means top 5 records, tail means bottom 5 records. So I want top 3 and bottom 3 records. You can't do it. You can explicitly mention the number, how many elements that you want or how many records you want. Can you see here? Now it is printing top 3 records and as well as bottom 3 records. So now we understood how to load the data from a JSON format. So let me write down here, that is loading or importing the data from JSON format. Right, that's cool. So now we'll try to load the data from different sources, that is text file. Importing the data from text file. So to execute this, you can just write as pd.read_csv, and then you can specify the file name here. Along with that, if you execute, can you see here? It is tab separated, not the comma separated. So it is telling /t/t. So what you can do, you can also specify the delimiter explicitly. How will you see the parameters? You can use shift and tab. So there is a parameter called delimiter. Just copy this delimiter, write down equals to and specify the tab. So now the data is properly extracted. So if you want to see the first 5 records, you can write as df5.head. So by default, it prints the first 5 records. So now we understood how to load the data from text file. So what are the different file format we have next? We also have the data in Excel format. So we already saw how to load the data in Excel. Let me explain you once again. Importing the data from Excel format. This is your fifth type of data that we are loading is. So pd.read_excel. So here you are specifying the file name, that is bigma.xlxs. So you can write df5 is equals to this information. So you have successfully loaded the Excel file as well. Now we'll try to load the next formatting, that is a zip file. So consider if the information is present in the zip file, how will you load it? So let me copy this file name. So let me paste it here. So importing the data from zip file, right? That is my 6th section, that is importing the data from zip file. So if you want to import the data from zip file, first you want to import the zip file, that is the library or the module that we have. So you can just write as import zip file. So first you want to import the module as zip file. So once you have imported the module called zip file, you want to write with zip file dot, you have another module called zip, so capital Z and as well as capital file. So here you want to specify the file name, and let me provide the alias as A. So now I want to open this particular file. To open this file, what I can do, I can just specify with a.open. I'm opening this particular file that I've defined for variable A. So now let me provide the, what is the file that is present in that particular zip file. The file that is present in the zip file or CSV file. So how do I see that? I can just go to this and then I can just double tap this. Can you see here? We have the CSV file, comma separated values. So in this, the file name is big market, right? So I want to load the big market. So I will write it as bigmarket.csv. I'll give the alias as B for now. So now let me create a data frame as df6. So df6 is equals to pd.read underscore csv. It is in the CSV file, so only I am using pd.read csv. If it is in the Excel file, I would have given pd.read underscore excel, pd.read underscore csv, and now let me provide the b as the variable because it is in the b section, right? So if you execute df6.add, so your data is successfully loaded. So now we understood like all the different ways of loading the data. Firstly, we have started how to load the data in CSV format, and then we understood how to load the data in JSON format, HTML format, Excel format, and we understood how to load the data from text file, and finally we understood how to load the data from zip file. So finally, we'll try to also understand how to load the data, like if it is like Excel workbook, right? So let me go rename here. Let me copy it and let me paste it. So whatever the data is in Excel workbook. So Excel workbook can contain multiple different worksheets, right? Can you see here? Let me go to this particular sheet, right? So here is your Excel workbook, that is e-commerce data. So in the e-commerce data, you can see here we have two different worksheet that is available, right? So let me go back to the file and let me extract the data from Excel workbook. 7th point, loading the data from Excel workbook. So to load the data from Excel workbook, what you can provide? You can first provide as data is equals to, or else df7. df7 is equals to, you can write p dot Excel file. So the E should be capital, Excel, F should be capital, Excel file. So provide the path or the file name, that is ecommerce.xlsx file. So df7, if you execute, so now it is in the Excel file. I want to see what are the worksheets that are available. To see what are the worksheets that are available for this particular information, or else you can name it as data for now, and then later on say just once it is converted, I will give the data frame name. So data dot sheet underscore names. So we have two sheets that is available. One is customer data and the other one is order data, right? So now if you want to extract only the customers data, what you can do? You can just specify cust data is equals to data dot, I want to parse it. So let me write as parse. What is the sheet name I want to provide? If you use a shift tab over here, it is asking you the first parameter is sheet name. So you can specify the sheet name equals customer data. Let me copy this and let me paste it somewhere here. So if you write cust data, can you see here? Your cust data is successfully loaded. If you also want to load the same thing, order data as well, the same thing you want to follow, you can write as order data is equals to data dot parse sheet name is equals to, rather than customer data, what I want to do, I want to copy the order data. So I want to print it here, order data. So you can see here we have successfully loaded the order data as well. So this way we can load the data from different file format. So closely 8 different formats that we have loaded. So once we are done with this, we'll also do some basic data manipulation operation in the later on stages. Before that, let me check out of the null values that are available in the data or not. So some analysis we'll try to perform. So what is the total number of records that is present in the order table? So order data dot shape. So it talks about we have 8 records with 5 columns. If you also want to see with customer data, you can just write as cust data dot shape. So in the cust data, it is telling we have 6 records with 4 columns. Okay, that's good. But if you see here in this order table, we have some null values, right? So this nan is nothing but we have null values that is present in the data. If you want to see how many records as null values in the orders data, so what you can do, you can just write as order data dot is null. Is null is a function that provides whether there is a null values or not. It will always give you the Boolean value. So you can see false in the sense there is no null values. True means there is a null values that is present in the file. If you want to add all the elements which are true, you can just write dot sum. So it will just sum up those information which are true. So we have in 3 column we have the null values. If you want, you can treat the null values. That is again the other task how to treat the null values I will be explaining in later on stages. Now let me check the information of my orders data. So order data dot info. So that provide you the detailed information of the orders table. So we have 8 records, out of which it is the entry starting from 0 to 7, and we have different columns such as order ID, customer ID, order quantity, sales, and then order priority. So out of which how many number of not null values? In order ID we have 8 not null records. That means all the entries we have. But in the order quantity we have 7 not null values, that means 1 null values that we have, and in the sales also we have 1 null values, and as well as in order priority also we have 1 null values. Along with that, we can also see the data types that are assigned for individual variables or the individual columns. So now we'll try to perform some of the data manipulation operation, data manipulation operations, right? Let me go back to the sheet. Let me see the bigmart file. So in the bigmart file we have the records. The same way, let me also load the bigmart file. So bigmart file is somewhere, yes, df6. df6 is my bigmart file, df6. So both the data is same. We have month, store and sales, and then we have month, store and sales. Now if I want to see the minimum sales that was generated in the bigmart, how I can see in Excel, I can just write equals to, there is a function called min. I can select all the sales information. So the minimum sales that was generated is 20,722, right? This is the minimum sales. So the maximum sales, if you want to do the same thing, just instead of minimum, I can use max of all the sales. Control shift down to select all the records. If you want to see total sales, you can write as total equals to we write because we are telling Excel to perform some operations, right? Sum of, so all the sales information, just select control shift down. So this is your total sales. If you want to see the average sales, you can just write as equals to average of all the sales information. So we got the average sales. So these are the functions that you can use in Excel to perform certain tasks, right? How easily we are able to do it. We can do the same operation by using the pivot table as well. So now we'll try doing the same operations in Python. So first thing what we did, we tried finding the total sales or minimum sales. So I can just write as df dot in the sense the column I want to present. First I want to provide the data frame, that is df6 dot column names, that is nothing but sales dot min. So that provides you the minimum values. Can you see here both the values are same? That's good. So what if there is any spaces, right? What if there is any space in the column names? For an example, consider your df6 consists like this: df6 dot rename. So I'm renaming the column. So to rename the column, you can write it as rename, and you can specify columns is equals to. So consider what if the sales information is like sales information is like sales price, right? So what if the information is in this way, sales price rather than sales, if it is sales price. So if I want to affect my original table, before affecting the original table, always it's a good practice to copy the original file. To copy the original file, you can write it as df7 is equals to df6 dot copy, and also it's better to use deep copy rather than just shallow copy. Deep is equals to true. So now the original file is saved somewhere. So I perform the copy operation. That's good. So let me affect the original table data frame by writing in place equals to true. So that is affected my original data frame df6. So with the same df6, if I perform df6 dot sales price dot min, so it will throw me an error. Can you see here? It is throwing an error. So the same functionalities are applied here, but now it is throwing an error. Why it is throwing error? In the sense, before there was no space in between, but now there is a space between the sales and price. If that is the case, I cannot use dot, df dot, I cannot use it. Instead of that, I want to use square bracket with analysis like this. Understood? Whenever there is any space, use the indexing kind of thing. Use square bracket to perform the certain operation. If there is no space, you can just use dot and you can extract the particular column from the data frame. So I also want to see the maximum and as well as total and average. So let me write as df6 of, let me copy this same thing. I want to see all the information in the same line. So what I can do, I can just write as display. I will just display the values. Let me copy this same thing and let me print. So instead of minimum, I'll go with maximum values and then mean, average values, and as well as sum, that is total values. Can you see here? Now we want to provide mean, not the average. But in Excel, we used to use the function called average. But here we want to use the function called mean, not the average. So these are the details that is extracted. It is presented same in the Excel as well. So this is how we can compare and you can do the data manipulation operation using Pandas. So now, if anyone asks you to extract only those information whose store is A, so what you can do, you can just go to the Excel. If you want to apply filter, you can just use Ctrl+Shift+L. So the filter is applied. So if you want to extract only those information where store is A, So just remove all this. Wherever there is store A, I want those details. Can I see here? This is the 4 details that we are extracted or captured: 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 5 details. How do I do the same thing in Python? If you want to perform the same thing in Python, you can just specify df6 dot, the column name is store, equals to I'm doing a comparison operator of A. If you execute, it will print you a boolean value. If you want only those index position wherever there is true, you can write an indexing, that is df6, and you can write a square bracket. So wherever there is A, only those information is extracted. That's super cool, right? Now we have another condition, whereas along with this, I also want whose sales is greater than 30,000. So how I can do this in Excel? I can just use drop down number filter greater than 30,000, specify the 30,000 here, 30,000 and click on OK. So we have only 2 values which is greater than 30,000, the revenue that was generated from January month and as well as from March month. How do I do this if there is multiple condition in Python? Just let me copy the same, let me paste it here. So this is one condition. So if you have multiple condition, use the tuple. So use tuple here, round bracket, ampersand for AND operators, and we have another condition, that is df6 dot. So instead of dot, I want to use square bracket because we have space in between, right? Of total sales is greater than 30,000. So if you see here, can you see here? Only those information got extracted. So whenever you have more than one condition, you always want to use tuple and you want to extract the values. So if they ask you either anything like, I want to extract only those information whose store is A or whose price is greater than 30,000. Always make sure one thing, AND operator means both the conditions should satisfy, or means any one condition should satisfy. So now my question is, if the store is A or if the sales price is greater than 30,000. If that is the case, what you can do? You can just copy paste it. To perform OR operation, you can use pipe, that is nothing but straight line. So here is the details. So this information explains that either a store is A or the sales price is greater than 30,000. So if any one condition satisfied, it provide the details. So now we'll talk about NOT operator. NOT operator is nothing but opposite of resultant output. So consider this is your operations. So what are the information which is not present in this particular data frame? If you want to see, you can use NOT notation. So to perform the notation or NOT operation, you want to select all the information in the tuple, and then you want to make sure that you are using the notation like this. So that is the NOT operator. This information was not present in the previous data frame, in this data frame. So this is your NOT. I hope that's clear to everyone how to perform the filtering the records in the data frame by using the pandas, and we also compared this with Excel, right? Now we'll talk about how to sort the data in pandas. DataFrame sorting. How to sort the data in the data frame. To sort the data, what you can do, you can just specify df6 dot sort underscore values. So which column you want to sort it? They are asking. I want to sort sales price. So copy the sales price column. So the data by default it is sorted in the ascending order. If you want, you can also explicitly specify comma ascending equals to true. So the data is sorted in ascending order, but this information will not affect your original data frame. If you want to affect the original data frame, you want to explicitly mention here df6 is equals to df6.sort values, like an reassignment. So now the df6 got affected. So the data is sorted in the ascending order. What if the data should be sorted in descending order? If that is the case, where I want to write the same function, that is nothing but df6 dot sort underscore values, but here I will copy the column name. The column name is sample sales price. So let me print the sales price, comma. You can just use ascending is equals to false. So if you specify ascending equals to false, the data will be sorted in the descending order rather than ascending order. So this way you can sort the data in ascending order or descending order. So next we will try to perform different operations. So the same way, if you want to sort it in Excel, that is super easy, where again I am removing this filter, I am applying the filter, just you can right click it, you can sort from smallest to largest, that is ascending order, right click, sort largest to smallest, that means in descending order. That's what I have shown you here. I hope that's clear to everyone. Now what if you want to sort the data for two different columns, right? I was just explaining how to sort for only one column. Now combination of column, if you want to sort the data for the combination of columns, whereas I want to sort the store in ascending order and sales in descending order. How do I do that? Sort the data where store in ascending order and sales price in descending order. Store in ascending order and sales price in descending order. To do that, we have combination of sorting or multiple sorting here. So how will I perform this operation? df6 dot sort underscore values. Here I am specifying list of elements because I am providing two column names. So the first column I want to sort is store, and the second column I want to sort is sales price. Sales price. So the two columns I am telling to sort. So how I want to sort it? This is the order they are telling. So sales price should be in descending order, and based on store, the sales price should be in descending order, but the store should be in ascending order, comma. Ascending is equals to, again I want to perform in list format. So store should be in ascending order, so only I am telling ascending equals to true, and sales price should be in descending order, so it should be false. So you can see now all the stores are in ascending order and the sales price with respect to store is in descending order. Can we do it in Excel? Yeah. So we'll go back to Excel. So if you sort this store in ascending order, just right click, sort ascending order. So the data got sorted in ascending order. But if you sort the sales in descending order, can you see here the store is also getting affected. So it is not properly sorted, right? So how do I do the multiple sorting in Excel? To perform this, what you can do, you want to do the custom sorting where regular sorting will not work. To do custom sorting, I want to right click, sort, custom sort. So in the custom sort, it is asking what should be the first level of sorting. My first level of sorting should be done for store based on the values in ascending order A to Z. And the next level I want to sort it based on the sales, based on the cell values in descending order, that is largest to smallest. If you click on OK, now you can see and you can compare the value between Excel along with that data frame. Can you see here March, Jan, May, Feb, April, March, Jan, May, Feb and April. So the data is sorted based on the 2 columns, that is custom sorting we have done. So now we have performed the sorting operation. Now we also try to do the concatenation, alright, how to append the data. So to perform the concatenation, let me explain you here. So we have two different tables, one is order table and the other one is customer table. So concatenating the data frame. We also call this as appending the data frame. Appending the data frame, right? So to perform the concatenation of data frame, you can specify as pd dot concat. You want to perform a list of values where write down customer data along with the order data. So for your examples, let me print both the details, cust data and as well as order data. So this is your customer table and this is your order table, right? So now I want to concatenate row wise. What I can do, I want to specify both the details like cust data comma order data. If you execute this, can you see here? By default, the data got concatenated row wise. If you have performed in SQL, we call this type of operation called union. Union is nothing but adding the data between row wise. When do we perform union operation? For an example, if you have 2014 sales, if you want to append 2015 sales below 2014 and 2016 sales below 2015 sales, you want to go with this type of operations, right? So by default, the axis is 0. Axis is equals to 0 by default. That's why the data got appended row wise. If you want, you can perform various operations on top of this, like you can ignore the index. So you can see here, the index is printing like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the index that is represented for customer table and this is the index that is represented for orders table. So I don't want the index to be changed, right? It should be continuous. To make sure that the index is continuous, what I can do, I can just specify ignore underscore index is equals to true. If it's just write as IG and if you click on tab, your Jupyter notebook is smart enough to give you the what is the parameters that is available. So you can see here now the index is not breaked, it is continuous. So it is ignoring the index based on the tables. So these are the operations how you can perform in Python. So this we call it as union operation. Union operation. So now we'll try to perform joins. Joins in Python. So have you heard about joins? Yes. If you have already worked with SQL, you do performed join operation, right? So what is joins? Joins are nothing but if you have multiple tables, if you want to have an access of all the tables, you will go for joins. You can perform joins to access multiple table. If you do joins, you can increase the columns where you are going to add the columns. That is what join does. Union will add the row where joins will add the columns. You want to make sure whenever you are using joins, there should be one corresponding column that is having a relationship between both the table. There should be a primary key and foreign key kind of relationship, right? If you see this table, the common table that is present in both the common column that is present in both the table is customer ID, right? So now we'll try to perform some joins operation. Basically, I will go with inner join as beginning, inner join. So what is inner join? Inner join is nothing but intersecting records from both the table. That is what inner join is. It prints the corresponding matching records from both the table. So let me write as df underscore inner is equals to pd dot merge. So in SQL, the concept of join In Python, we call it as merge is the function, right? Merge. So which two table you are going to merge? It is asking. So I want to merge customer table and orders table. So I will write as cust data, comma, order data. So based on what column they are asking. So based on what column I want to make an relationship. So the corresponding column on, what is the corresponding column from both the table? Order table and customer table, the corresponding column, the common column is customer ID. So copy this customer ID on, you specify the customer ID. You want to perform the join operation based on the customer ID. So if you don't specify, by default it will join based on the inner join only. If you want to specify explicitly, you can write it as out is equals to inner. So by default it is inner join. You can also explicitly mention it as inner join. So you can see here inner join provides you the corresponding matching record from the both the table. So those are the customers who have placed the order. So those details has been printed here. Now we'll try to perform left join. What is left join? The left join means it prints all the records from the left table and corresponding matching records from the right table. That is what left join is all about. So left join. So now to perform the left join, let me write it as pd dot merge. So again I want to specify the two columns here. So one is customer table and the other one is orders table. So I have specified customer data and order data, and on which column I am going to merge, they are asking on is equals to customer ID, right? This is the common column that is present in the both the table. So I want to explicitly specify what kind of join I want to perform. So I will write out is equals to left. So you can see the operation is performed based on the left join. So that means all the records from the customer table and corresponding matching record from the orders table. That is what left join is all about. Now I'll talk about a right join. Right join. What is right join? Right join is all about where it prints all the records from the right table and corresponding matching records from the left table. So let me copy the same, but the difference that I want to make it is, instead of writing out is equal to left, I want to make it as right. So you can see here I got right join where all the records from the right table and corresponding matching record from the left table. So these are the various kind of joins that you can perform. But what if the common column is not present from both the table? So now there is a common column called customer ID from customer table, and also we have cust ID in orders table. For an example, rather than cust ID, if it is customer ID, how will you perform? You can see here we are writing on is equals to cust ID. Why we are using on equals to cust ID? In the sense, in customer table also we have cust ID, in orders table also we have cust ID. So there is a common column name. So we are making a relationship. What if there is a customer ID in customer table and order ID or cust ID in orders table? Let me rename the column name. To rename the column name, cust data. This is how the customer table looks like cust ID is the column name. Let me rename from cust ID to customer ID dot rename. So let me rename the column, renaming the column name. So here I am specifying a dictionary. I can just write as columns is equals to, and dictionary, let me specify cust underscore ID colon, the value that I want to provide here is customer ID. So can you see here, now I have replaced the values from cust ID to customer ID. If you want to affect the original table, I want to write as comma in place equals to true. So that affect the original cust ID, cust table, cust data table. So now we cannot use the same operations, right? It will not work because in both the table we don't have the same column name, that is cust ID. If I execute this, do you think so will it work? No, right? So in the customers table only we have customer ID, but in the orders table we have cust ID. If you execute, it will throwing an error where cust ID is having an issue. In the customer table, cust ID is not present. So to overcome that, what I can perform, I can mention explicitly by stating that left on and as well as right on. Left on in the sense from the left table, what is the column name? That is customer ID, right? From the left table we have customer ID. Let me print the customer ID, and right on from the right table, this is your right table. So right on, right underscore on is equals to cust ID, right? There is a cust ID in the orders table. So let me print the cust ID. Can you see here? When there is a column difference, column name difference, you want to perform in this way. So whereas in SQL you used to use using clause and on clause. So it's the same way we are performing here. In SQL, if the column name is same, you can use using clause. But if the column name is different, you want to use on clause. The same way we are done in the Python as well. So now we can also perform in different way. So let me print it as cust data and as well as order data. So what if the customer ID is an index rather than the column? I want to convert this customer ID as an index, and based on the index position I want to make a relationship. If that is the case, where I want to make it as cust data dot set underscore index. So I am setting an index. So which column I want to set an index? I want to set as an index as customer ID. So I want to make sure this customer ID is adding as an index position. Can you see this customer ID is added? So this is your cust data 1. So let me print it as order data 1 now. Order data 1. So order data 1 is nothing but order data dot set underscore index. So the column name that I want to specify is cust ID here. Copy this cust ID and paste it here, right? So this is how your cust table looks like, cust data 1 and order data 1. So you can see here, this is your customer table and as well as order table. So if you want to make the relationship based on the index position now, so what you can do, you can just write it as pd dot merge, that is cust data 1 comma odd data 1. Based on how I want to merge it, I want to merge based on the index position. So I want to specify here left underscore index is equals to true, comma right underscore index is equals to true. So based on the left index and as well as right index, I am making a relationship. So this is how you can add the relationship between the index position based on the index position. So these are the functionalities that we can perform. Now we'll also try to understand in detail of how to use pivot table in Python by using the pandas. So I hope everyone has already worked on pivot table in Excel. So to select the pivot table, what you can do, you can just go for insert tab and then you can select pivot table, or else you can go to this table alt and V. is the shortcut to create a pivot table in Excel. So select the existing table and click on OK. So first specify the table range. So let me specify the table range here and existing table, and then provide some table information, then click on OK. So the pivot table is created. So if you want to see the store wise total sales, right? So just 2 clicks, you are able to create a store wise total sales. Can we do the same thing in Excel and Python by using the pandas? Yes, you can do it. So now we'll talk about how to use pivot table by using Python pivot table. Yes, now we'll try to perform a pivot table using pandas. So we can see here where in Excel we have just created just 2 to 3 clicks, we are able to create a pivot table. So we do the same thing in pandas. So let me write as pd dot pivot underscore table. Alright. So in the pivot table, let me see what are the arguments that it takes. First thing is they're asking for data. Let me copy this parameter and paste it here. So data is equals to df1. So let me take this particular df6, right? So the data frame name is df6. So let me take df6 here, comma. So they're asking what should be the next parameter is values and as well as index. So let me provide the index information and values information. So let me select values. So values as, so this is your df6 dot add. So values are nothing but the sample, the sales price is your values. So let me write as values is equals to sales price, and then your index is equals to your store, where I was checking with store wise analysis, right? This is your store. So along with that, we can also see there is an aggregate functions. So we can perform various aggregate functions. So let me copy this aggregate function aggfunc, and let me write equals. So sum, I'm performing sum as my aggregate function. So there's an error by stating that value spelling is wrong. Perfect. So the same output that you can see in your Excel sheet as well. Can you see? So along with that total sales, I also want to see what is the average sales. So how do I do it in Excel? I can just click on this drop down, value field settings. I will change this to average. If I also want to see what is the count, number of sales that was happened, you can just again add it here. You can change this values field settings to count. So this way you can perform it, right? So if I want to do all this analysis in Python, rather than using a single aggregate function, I will use list of aggregate function. The first aggregate function I've used as sum. Now I will use min, comma, max, comma, count, comma, mean. So this is the various aggregate function that has been used. Can you see here? It is printing all the different various aggregate functions based on the category. So you can see the total sales that was generated by store A is 1,49,000. Yes, so you can perform various different types of aggregate function. So if you also want to see like analysis based on the monthly wise, you can also add a square bracket here in the index. Rather than restricting only for store, if I also want to do the analysis for various months, I can use square bracket and add multiple columns as well. So I can use column and you can use square bracket and you can do the analysis. So this way you can do various analysis based on multiple columns and as well as individual columns by using the pivot table. Same thing you can do it in the Excel as well. You can see the same chart will be applicable and here. So that's great. Now we'll try to do the group by function. So understand how group by function works. So let me write as d of 6 dot, so this is your d of 6 dot head of 2. So first two records I am printing it. So now if you want to do the analysis, what you can do by using group by operation. So you can simply write it as d of 6 dot group by, I want to group by store, and then I want to take the sales price, average sales price or anything as such. So you want to use square bracket here and you want to specify the average sales price, and then you want to write the aggregate functions. So dot sum. So it is printing what is the total sales that was generated by different stores. So this is only one aggregate function. Now same way as I mentioned in pivot table, the multiple aggregate function, if I want to do the same thing in group by function, you want to use AGG. So aggregation of, you can use square bracket. In this square bracket, you are going to specify sum, that is nothing but the total sales, comma, min will provide you the minimum sales, comma, max will provide you the maximum sales, count will provide you what is the total number of sales, and as well as we have mean. Mean will provide you average sales. So these details is also able to display here. But the advantages of pivot table is where you can also print the total margin. So to print the total margin, what you can do, you can also write this, let me keep it for only store for now rather than store and month. So the same analysis I also did in group by, but the advantages in pivot table is I can also add the total margin. So how do I do this? I can just write as margin is equals to true. If you specify this margin is equals to true, can you see here, this is the row total analysis also displayed. So along with that margin, there is a column name as all. Rather than all, if I want to change this column name as grand total, I can just make it as margin names. Margins name is equals to grand total. If you execute it, can you see here the margin name got changed from all to grand total. So this is the advantages of using the pivot table, but we cannot do the same analysis in group by function. So these are the various operations and you can perform in pandas. So the last operation that you can perform is replace function. We have not discussed about replace, right? We have renamed the column. If you want to replace the values, for example, A to Apple store, right? So if you want to replace that, what you can do, you can simply write df6 dot add. This is your data. I want to replace A with Apple. So if I want to see what are the unique stores that we have, to see the unique stores, you can just write df6 dot unique. Store dot unique. So these are the unique stores that we have. If I also want to see each store how many times it is repeated, you can use value counts df6 dot store dot value underscore counts. So that provides you each store number of times it is repeated. So my analysis now is to replace the A with Apple. So df6 dot replace. So replace what with what? I want to replace A. So use dictionary, and in the key place you want to give A and colon. In the place of values you can provide Apple. If you execute it, so can you see here wherever there is A, that has been replaced with Apple. So if you want to affect other record as well, so you can write comma. So if you want to affect B, so I want to affect B with some other information, right? Like let me replace B with ball or something, or bat for now. So can you see here? It is able to replace A with apple and B with bat successfully. So this is how the replace function works. If you want to replace individual column or individual values or multiple values, you can do it. But if you want to affect the original table, this information will not affect the original table. The original table will remain same. df6 remains same. It is not affected. If you want to affect it, what you can do? You can use in place, comma, in place equals to true. So now the original table got affected. Can you see here? B has replaced with bat and A has replaced with apple. So this is how you can do it. So these are the various data manipulation operations you can perform by using the pandas. So I hope you are very clear with this. Thank you.